Minus 17.
Minus 17, I don't know. Guinness contains 4.2%. So,
Hi.
How many
Yes.
Korras does it contain?
well,
It's 12
zero,
seconds.
zero because Guinness actually has character.
I bought a local Texas beer because the bottle looked like it wasn't good.
Is it Lone Star by any chance?
No, Lone Star is easy to drink. I mean, there's nothing special, but
It's just-
This is called Texas beer and it's full of wood shavings.
This one's called Raw and Sons, and they put way too much malt in it. It's like drinking, it's like drinking syrup.
That kind of sounds like a white beer.
It is definitely a beer. I just don't like it.
Okay, well, fair enough. Anyway, welcome to yet another episode of Radio Rothingham, the world's least professional podcast on the entire world, planet, galaxy.
Texas beer, shouldn't Texas beer be full of sand?
Sand? We don't. Why would it be full of sand?
Not the entirety of Texas is desert, you know. Maybe 90% of it, but is that a true fact?
No.
Okay, it's official. Tridgeon is now Sandy from the SpongeBob episode where they made fun of Texas.
I mean, I guess that's fair enough.
That was kind of a funny episode in a weird way. I was like, why are you guys making fun of Texas? I mean, usually that's New Jersey's job. Why is Texas doing New Jersey's? Probably.
No, she's like an astronaut. And
Yes.
So she's very Houstonian. Like she has a Houstonian accent and manner, and like it's very accurate because that's where NASA, the people that talk ground control, NASA ground control is from.
But unlike NASA, she actually has the funds to go somewhere.
Ooh. That
Well-
hurts.
Well, she lives on the water for some reason.
Exactly, she established a permanent base, Artrix.
Yes, and in a way, inhabiting the bottom of the ocean is more of a challenge for mankind than going into frickin' space. I mean, there.
Yeah, just have to shoot Cameron.
Yes. I mean, we're talking about setting up bases on Mars and shit, but we can't even set bases on the bottom of the ocean. Come on. I mean, we can't even go into Antarctica.
It's more difficult in the ocean. There's something in the ocean that's not on Mars.
So what is in the ocean that's not on Mars?
Sharks.
Sharks.
Oh
Sharks
yeah.
live up to 400 years.
I mean, have you seen?
Well,
the
checkmate atheists. I mean,
No, 500 years.
it's the sharks that keep us from going into the ocean.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the immense pressure that we have to overcome.
Well, I
And
mean, look, Artrix, in the space, there's also immense pressure, but the opposite direction.
yes,
so I don't
there's
think
kind of a
that's
lack
problem.
of pressure and radiation and that sort of thing.
Well, space is radiation, water has sharks.
Hmm?
That's fair.
And I bet the sharks are so cool that we would just be irradiated by their coolness. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the 90s can't even get anywhere close to how cool the sharks are.
You get to some sharks and then you die of shark exposure.
Yeah. I
You get
mean,
shark sickness.
That's
you-
what Fukushima was all about.
Yep.
Just irradiating sharks to make them even more dangerous.
they walk around on with their scanners and like, oh, this area has 3 sharks now. It's uninhabitable by mankind.
It's like 100 times the base background levels.
Yeah, it's and you walk around the Fukushima radiation zone, and the shark's just standing on the corner. It's like, what are you looking at, punk? You're like, oh no, nothing.
Now.
Nothing. This is the ocean now, human. Get lost.
Oh my god, this place has 500 millisharkwards.
And then there's that camera crew that went into the Fukushima disaster zone, and the sharks are like, okay, you guys can go into that supermarket to film, but only for 15 minutes before the shark reds will irradiate you with our coolness. And, and that's why I never see any sharks in that footage, because, well, they're just overwhelmed by their coolness. You go.
Also, there is pressure.
Well, just a little bit. I mean, it's like a minor nuisance. It's not like whenever I'm at a pool and try to swim all the way to the bottom, my ears start to hurt. Especially if you go all the way down to like 3 meters. It's like, holy shit.
Sharks are really good under pressure.
Yeah, they perform really well under pressure. Humans are like, oh shit, I can't do this. The sharks are like, I'm cool. They're so cool. You see, they're so cool. So cool collected that they can deal with the pressure. Like, it's cool, man. It's cool.
But it's pretty amazing how well people can deal with water. Compared to other apes, we're essentially aquatic.
Yes.
Well, that's Tridgeon because we are indestructible space orcs.
Oh.
I mean, maybe.
That and this planet has the Netherlands, and as we all know about Netherlands, if it wasn't for the water, we'd rule the world. So I guess the water is keeping us in check.
It's the sharks, man.
But I thought the Netherlands were the ones that are keeping water in check.
Yes.
It's
Like,
neutral.
the ocean is like, this place is mine. The Netherlands were like,
Well, that also
We are Netherlands.
that also included the Netherlands, but we kicked them out, and we're in the process of kicking them out. I mean, we just created like additional 2 square kilometers in the North Sea, because we're like, Rotterdam is not big enough. We need more harbors, so we're just going to build more Netherlands or more Rotterdam, and we'll put more harbor on it.
I mean, all you have to do is open another couple orphanages and send them out to the dikes. Stick their fingers in all
Imagine
those
if you
holes.
imagine if you didn't dry out the entire central area of Netherlands. Imagine that port you could have built there.
Yeah, well, let me just put it this way. What if we didn't create that center part of Netherlands? Instead, we went to the west. And we just kept building and building and building until eventually we just hit the UK. It's like, we seem to have stumbled on the UK. Hi, England. You have a land border with the Netherlands now. Remember that war we used to have where we were fighting each other for maritime supremacy? Yeah, we have a land border now. So how...
You could have just built pier after pier and made a big port in the middle of the Netherlands and be like, okay, let's extend. Then let us do it.
I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, the UK has built a tunnel that connects them by land to France.
Yes, and it's actually kind of cool, but also
They are
surprisingly.
invading the water, not fighting it.
So yeah, technically UK has a land border with France.
By choice, even. That's crazy shit.
Yes, they were like, you know what? Let's we'll both agree to build a tunnel. We'll pay for it and start digging on both ends. And in 1993 they actually met each other under the sea. They literally went under the sea. As in, not in the sea, but under.
But did they go in a pineapple?
No. No, they didn't.
The video of the tunnels being connected is actually really similar to the video of the first docking to build the International Space Station.
Yes, because we're like, oh, hi.
Oh, hi there.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi.
Anyway, that is a segue into the first mini topic. It's not really a big topic, but it's kind of an interesting anecdote. So
It's a really small topic.
yeah, it's a micro topic. So
Really big topic.
So we all know how Europe has become this impenetrable fortress where no one can ever enter. It's impossible. You cannot
Yes.
go into Europe.
This is extremely accurate. I am in Europe.
Yes. So there's this there wasn't just one instance, but two instances of these very, very, very controversial people going into the UK where they want to do such a terrible thing as having an interview with someone. I think they're both from Canada, by the way.
Yes.
One of which is Laura Southern, which I personally don't really care much for.
Is she a relative of Kanye West?
No.
She sounds like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so she wanted to go to the UK. So she for some reason she got into France first. She was on a bus about to enter, and then they went through customs, and the border control guy was like, "Oh, hold on, we'll just take you in for extra questioning." And she's like, "Oh dear God, what have I done?"
And the dear God was just like, oh!
Yeah, God was like, "Ah, keep me out of this."
Because that's what deer do, Artrix.
Yes.
That's all they do.
God's like, I get millions of prayers every day. I don't need yours. So she was brought into a little room, and basically she wasn't allowed to leave for about 6 hours. And
Artrix, did they put a hand in a glove up her butt?
no, fortunately they didn't. But they did cite that since she was being detained using the provisions of the Terrorism Act of the UK.
Am I being detained?
That's what she said. They were like, yes, also this is terrorism law now, so you don't have the right to remain silent, and you don't have the right for attorney, and you can basically do whatever the fuck you want to you because terrorisms. So,
And then she's like, but I'm an independent vessel.
but they didn't care. So she was interrogated for about 6 hours. They also were really concerned about being able to look into her phone and her laptop and whatnot to see if she's carrying any terrible messages. But it all boiled down to the notion that apparently the UK thinks she's quote-unquote incompatible with the interests and values of the UK because he's such a horrible racist. Even though I wouldn't... I mean, Laura Southern is a conservative and a libertarian. So I wouldn't really call her like a white supremacist or anything. So...
Kill all white babies?
No. I don't think she advocated for killing any babies.
If she doesn't want to kill all white babies, then she is a white supremacist.
I don't understand. I mean, I thought we'd be, happy for all lives.
Black lives matter. Everyone else must be killed in a concentration camp.
Also, you forgot it's Britain, so basically, we don't like you, but you are not Trump. So, the flag. We can choose not to let you in.
But she isn't Trump.
Exactly. If she was a Trump, then they couldn't have chosen not to let her in.
Well, yes, he's kind of like the head of state of the US, which is a major partner of the UK. I mean,
Yes.
I think it's even like codified that they have like some sort of special relationship going on there,
Friendship with benefits, you say.
Hell yeah, they have a friendship with benefits. On lonely nights, when the UK is feeling lonely, that she goes up to United States, like, hey, can I spend the night with you, United States? And
Hey,
United
United States, let's
Oh my
trade.
god, you're so orange.
And then America brings out his bald eagle and is like, sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my freedom.
Please, no.
Yeah, this is now has become a ship fic between the UK and the US now.
Why is it so disgusting?
Yeah, that they get together at night and are like, let's trade.
Now come on, Tridgeon, it's the current year.
Traded until the morning.
Oh yeah, trade with me, United States. Trade with me. Give me all those consumer goods from China.
Except that's apparently not what's happening right now.
Then what is happening?
I don't know. There's all sorts of controversy about freaking trade tariffs because apparently the U.S. is beginning the bad end of the deal from so many other people for so long, and now that's going to end.
But
and
is
it's
it?
like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then the U.S. is like, we're going to put tariffs on everything. Everyone imports into the country is going to be taxed heavily.
Yeah,
And
for
everyone
instance.
else is like,
Thus, it would support domestic production.
yeah, but we haven't been a domestic producer for like 50 years. It's like not like we're gonna just overnight open up a bunch of steel mills and manufacturing, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I totally want an assembly line job," because that's totally what we think of when we think of good pay and work these days.
I mean, it's better than being unemployed.
That's the thing, but
We don't have high unemployment though. Well, the recession is ending.
yeah,
And
but that's
people are
not
looking
it.
for-
It's not really to the point where you can just walk up to a place we like give job and they just give you one.
True, but
It's-
the U.S. should play to our strengths, and our strength is not production. Our strength is like high technical, skilled labor.
Question is, if the world economy collapses, will you be able to survive?
Survive? Yeah, but that's not the point. I mean, no one should be planning for the entire economic collapse of the world, because that's how you have the entire economic collapse of the world.
Well, whatever you do, don't pull a Venezuela on yourselves and be like, we're going to throw in all our chips in one basket and cryptocurrency backed by gold
Yeah.
or oil fixed.
I mean, I don't know. The biggest problem is going back on years of treaties and pissing off our closest allies. And then, I don't know, it's almost like perfect timing. Of course, as soon as we start like breaking down these, bonds between our closest allies, one of our closest allies has this attack on them. And, of course, now there's all sorts of things about like the UK might be invoking different parts of NATO treaty in order to seek justice in this chemical attack they've just had.
Wait, there was a chemical attack?
Yeah,
The first time I hear it.
the nerve gas attack, where the former Russian spy was murdered using nerve gas in the UK.
Wasn't that like years ago?
No. I
Oh.
mean, it sounds very much like
Yeah,
very
that's-
similar incident from years
So
ago.
it's a different
Yeah.
extraction.
Yeah,
style.
so that's
This is
probably
a
why
different
it kind of missed my my attention, because it was like, oh, they're probably talking about a thing that happened years ago where
No,
there was a
Turns out, no, they just keep having Russian spies that keep dying through
They
night.
do.
Yeah.
okay, you guys, are we absolutely sure that the Russians aren't secretly Nazis? Because it sounds an awful lot like what a Nazi would do.
Well,
Except for,
Artrix,
like,
it might
opposite
surprise you,
Nazis.
but America had gas chambers in like the 50s still.
But we still use gas chambers.
Oh,
As I would even
still
go,
are Nazis, that's nice.
I would go as far as say that the Americans use Zyklon B quite extensively.
It would be better if we used more gas in our capital punishment, because the current like death cocktail that they use is horrifically like painful way to kill someone and expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, assuming that we weren't going to get rid of death penalty at all, because it's also a little bit barbaric.
You would almost think they're trying to punish the person they injected into.
Yeah, we're going to inject you with this that costs the state thousands and thousands of dollars, when we really could just put you in a room and fill it with helium. You know,
It certainly would be a very hilarious way to go. You'd at least you'd at least go out laughing.
it would be... yeah,
That's not what helium does, Artrix.
Well, yeah, it's literally an exit bag, but on the scale of a room.
Yeah,
And you'll have a funny voice when you do it. So I guess it's kind of funny.
I
It's like one of the ways that we
I think
kill-
they don't give you a balloon to breathe until you die.
It's one of the ways that we
Honestly,
kill
killing
pets, you know, because it's...
People, killing people.
No, Tridgeon, I'm pretty sure you kill pets by putting them into luggage compartments in planes.
I think Sekele wants. I think Sekele wants.
Airlines.
I think Sekele wants to say something. Go ahead.
Just trying to point out that killing people is basically the most American thing one can do.
America.
History is about killing.
Well, at least it's not every state that does it. So that's one of those.
At least you are not Poland, okay?
So at the very least, they have that going where it's like, well, there's death penalty, but it depends on in which state you are. So,
We also
and I'm
have this interesting trend where juries are having a really hard time finding people guilty in trials that could lead to capital punishment because they don't want that on them.
Mhm.
So it's like you have this dude that totally killed someone, and they go into trial, and the jury's like, you don't have like solid CSI proof that this happened, and the police are like, we have all this circumstantial evidence that adds up to, yeah, he totally did it. And the jury's like, yeah, if this was like jail for life or whatever, we totally would convict him. But because it's a potential capital punishment trial, you don't have enough. And it's becoming a huge problem in states that have the death penalty.
Yeah, because I would argue that this is exactly the kind of thing that the death penalty is supposed to prevent, or at least punish, where the incentive of killing someone is like, well, greatly diminished, because if you're found guilty, it's like, yeah, your life will end too. The state will come in and just end your life, but quite methodically and obviously, which I'm personally not really a fan of the death penalty, largely because you're essentially allowing the state to take a citizen's life, which could be very well, be by mistake. So
Everybody preventively.
Totalitarian?
the what now?
No.
Artrix, since we are talking about crimes, there was a nice news that I saw in the news. As I
Alright.
mentioned, at least you are not Poland. Well, apparently there was a case in Poland where after 18 years, they pardoned a guy who was jailed for 25 years. So he got 7 left. Because the case that he was sentenced for, which was a rape and a murder of some girl, well, he didn't do it. And after they looked into the case, it turns out that there were 12 eyewitnesses who said that he was in a different place at the time.
How the hell did he get sentenced?
There was his hair on the victim, and his neighbor said that
Yes.
he looks
Probably
very
also found
similar.
bite marks.
And his neighbor said that he looks very similar to the police sketch.
So hair
Police
science,
justice.
police sketches, bite mark science. There's so many like forensic case niches that were extremely popular over the last 20 years that are becoming more and more well known to be complete bullshit. Some like capital punishment cases have been reopened to find that like hair that was put in evidence and identified to the to the defendant turned out to be not even human hair.
Wow. But yeah, case in point. You
It's
can't.
It's like that Harry Potter with the changing potion.
You can't
You
put.
get the wrong hair and suddenly you are a fucking cat.
You can't put that degree of trust in the government to be able to decide whether someone gets to live or not.
Yeah.
I
Especially
mean,
when it's all like there's so much like stage drama that's put into how because it's a jury trial, and so you're not trying to convince a judge that you're trying to convince a jury of this person's peers, and so much of like cases become dramatic performance that you put a scientist on the stage and they're part of this performance. You make them feel like that you're helping put this horrible person behind bars, and of course they're gonna say like, yeah, I've got the best science, and we like science the shit out of it, and that dude's totally guilty. And it's people get wrapped up in the pageantry of it so much that we're killing innocent people, and it's horrific.
and it's one thing when it happens to like a case where someone might face jail time. I mean, that it's not complete. It is kind of irreversible, of course, irreversible because once you sentence someone to jail time and they're in jail for like 20 years, they're never gonna get those 20 years back.
Yeah,
but
at least they're still fucking alive.
Yes, and they can still turn their life around, especially if it's discovered that they're completely innocent.
And a lot
I
of these
mean,
people become voices for activism to prevent these things from happening again.
yes.
Whereas if they're dead, then they're just fucking gone.
Yes. I mean, on one hand, I get it. If someone is like irrefutably guilty of murder, it makes sense to just kill them because, well, you decided to take someone's life, so we're going to do the same to you. That makes sense. But the problem is that we in most cases we can't know for sure. And for the aforementioned aspect of you also allow the government to take someone's life, well, we all know that the government is people, and people are incapable of making mistakes. So,
yeah, we don't even trust the government with burning books for a lot of the same reason. We trust them with, literally getting rid of people.
Speaking of book burning and whatnot, there's like some tomfuckery going on between some sort of EU task force that was set up to quote unquote fight fake news, and this site in the Netherlands called Geen Stijl, and they're pretty much going back on just about everything they said, like, oh no, Geen Stijl is not fake news, and we were just kidding.
It sounds like a fake word, Artrix.
Geen Stijl.
I think it was a Norwegian group that came up with a really good way to combat toxic comments. I mean, similar to the fake news things. Because like you go into places like Reddit and stuff, it's not just the posts that are full of bullshit. It's the comments where it's like people that in some cases are obviously shills are just pushing crazy fucking agendas. There was, I think it was a Norwegian group that came up with a really simple widget that allows article posters and authors to add a multiple choice questions where you have to answer like 3 or 4 questions correctly before you can post comments. And it dramatically reduces the number of trolls that post.
Were there like questions? What's your bank account? Where do you live?
Obviously, yeah, and it's like, please, input your social security number and your, bank PIN here. No, it's stuff
Just,
like, basic questions things that were brought up in the article.
Just, so people should at least know what the contents of the article are
Before they're posting.
Okay, sir, please, can you tell me what this article is about?
No, get the fuck out of here. I guess a little bit of
but
the side, but
but yeah, that the whole thing about fake news is it's such a nonsense subject. I mean, just the fact that this word has entered our vernacular is quite disturbing, actually. I mean,
why don't we just call it propaganda, like what it has
Yeah.
been for the last years?
at least called propaganda. But
Like, is this state-sponsored? Is this a state-sponsored message that pushes an agenda? Because that's what we're talking about, you know.
so to be perfectly fair and clear, this includes all parties involved. So whether it's just people talking about fake news or the government of any stripe. Though it's especially egregious when it's like a government body droning on about fake news on all sides of the spectrum. Whenever some politician is like, fake news this, fake news that, he must combat fake news. I mean,
we need to, but it's nothing that the government can be able to do.
yes.
It's just, you know, we need like
You
people
need-
that are better informed and better educated.
That's definitely the best way to fight quote unquote fake news.
But my God, the average person on the internet is so uninformed. Because I remember at least with our age group, we had to take fucking classes. You know, like I had to take an internet ethics class. You know, this is how you behave on the internet. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. I don't think people are doing that shit
Wait,
anymore.
you actually had classes telling you how to internet?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like the internet was a thing that really didn't exist. You still have classes to do that?
but paradoxically, if you take such a class and take that shit to heart, then you won't know how the internet works. Because the internet, by its design, is anarchy. And it makes no sense.
At the very least, you know you can't break the rules if you don't know what they are. I feel like the average person that just Googles Facebook to pull up their wall feed, you know, and then is reading the news from there, and it's like, oh my God, did you see that? You know, the 1,000 Muslims that were celebrating when 9/11 happened, and they don't think like, oh, what? Maybe someone just made that shit up. You know, because why would someone do that? Go onto the internet and
Well,
lie?
there are some psychopaths who would do that.
Yeah, there are some that would do that, but the problem with fake news is that people are reading these really stupid news reports and these really obvious troll posts, and they believe it because I guess they just think that it's like opening the New York Times. I don't know. There's so many people out there that have so little agency, and
Well, there's two extremes for you. I mean, there's Facebook, and then there is the New York Times. I mean, come on.
By the way, when we are talking about stupid news, recently, apparently, Huffington Post to smear Trump and his visit to Israel actually quoted a neo-Nazi website as a reliable source.
Would it?
I mean, it's probably reliable for something.
Huffington Post, in an attempt to smear Trump,
Oh,
quoted a neo-Nazi site as one of their sources.
Obviously.
It's
Basically,
so
as a
typical.
trustworthy source.
And look, if you look at it, the Nazis are actually nice people. They don't suffer guys who don't agree with them.
well, that sounds like something that the Huffington Post would agree to. Huffington Post. What would we do? What would we do without you? Well, actually, I would know what I do.
Probably just do fine.
Yes.
Fine.
It's like nothing has changed in my daily life ever since Huffington Post ceased to exist. The same can be said about Gawker, by the way. You know, Gawker bit the dust, and our lives haven't changed whatsoever.
It's like that old 4chan meme that shows the server on fire, implying the 4chan server on fire, and then the caption is, and nothing of importance was lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, then again, 4chan doesn't actually store much of anything, except for what they're talking about right now. So, good luck finding a post that's older than 48 hours.
Yeah, there's no news on that site, which makes 4chan less dangerous than Huffington Post. What?
Wait, what?
4chan is more trustworthy at the moment than CNN because 4chan does not claim to say the truth.
Wait, CNN claims to say the truth?
Yes and no. I mean, there was that time when their anchors literally told the audience, don't trust anything you read on WikiLeaks. We are allowed to go to WikiLeaks, but you can hear all the reliable news from us. But it is illegal to go to WikiLeaks or whatever.
And that's so typical.
And I was like, what the actual fuck, man? Like, are you really that full of yourself?
That's the most liberal news on air in America, too.
CNN, isn't it more like MSNBC or whatever it was?
Maybe MSNBC? CNN is usually what's targeted by the alt-right, as in the liberal news.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're
the ones that are actually questioning, recent actions by the president.
Yeah,
but the shit he's been doing is insane.
but
funny, very, very funny.
Funny.
It may be funny for you guys. I'm crying. I'm dying inside.
Okay, well, take an aspirin. That might take the dying away. So
or kill you.
Oh, it's not actually the president. It's actually a heart attack. Good thing I had this bare aspirin.
Hmm? Aspirin will solve everything. But yeah, CNN has a very obvious leftist slant lately. I remember it being a lot more neutral in the past.
See, I don't think they've actually changed their stance at all. I think it's just.
I do remember that for a time they supported George W. Bush and his invasion of Iraq.
That's certainly.
Well, everything in America did when we were invading Iraq. Oh my God! Having I was in high school during that time period. If I was 5 years older, I would have joined the army. The patriotic fervor and need for retaliation, and the immense amount of what was later learned to be bullshit intelligence that we were getting at the time was overwhelming. We didn't know that. We didn't know at the time that WMDs were bullshit, and we thought that it was clear cut that Iraq was behind 9/11, and if we didn't do something now, they were going to nuke somebody, and we're a loose cannon that had to be taken care of.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world thought you were a bunch of idiots.
I mean, I guess this is going back to the danger of what we're calling fake news now, the danger of propaganda.
Danger zone.
In this case, propaganda that was not backed by national interests, but backed by corporate interests. But yeah, no, even the most left-leaning news organizations were going to be in favor of the Iraq War as it happened. You would have to be some sort of socialist in order to not be backing it at the time. And that's what panned out. The only people that were saying hey, maybe this isn't a great idea, were the fucking socialists. It's like the Bernie Sanders and the independent groups that were hey, we're going in this a little bit quick.
I can definitely remember at the time this was going on, I was kind of shaking my head thinking, what the fuck are you guys thinking?
I mean, the going to war with Afghanistan is one of the most, reasonable things that we've done that was on such a mass scale. Because that was just pure retaliation.
And also that ended fairly quickly. I mean, it happened, and sure enough, they were,
It's
you know,
not in quick. We
well,
were
the
in
init
longer than Iraq.
yes, but the initial invasion was a lot quicker, and you know, so it started very intensely, and then you just sort of lingered around for well over a decade, and then you were like, okay,
And that is I assume that's mostly because America kinda scattered its forces to fight.
I'm pretty sure it's because USA is masochistic, and when they lost in Vietnam, they were like, oh, this looks good.
It was more because, one, all the neighboring countries around Afghanistan hate us, even if they don't say it to our face, especially Pakistan. Pakistan is a close ally to the U.S. in name, but in action, not so much. And partly because of the numerous atrocities that the U.S. has done against them. They have very good reasons for supporting, continual engagement. But also because the U.S. is geared up for war between first world nations. Like, it's the ultimate bringing a sledgehammer to when you need
Yeah, and that's why it's so fucking hilarious that they keep losing to the guys with sticks.
It's just, you need a completely different set of tools. U.S. is horribly unequipped, not ill-equipped to deal with. They're like, we can
Guerrilla
raise your
warfare.
entire nation and turn it into glass, but if it's guerrilla warfare, we suddenly need to
It's a conquest army. It's not at all designed for long-term occupation and dealing with insurgencies.
That's why they had problems with getting those terrorists from under that one mountain. We're like, well, we need to locate them and figure out where the tunnels are, and then do
we
something
can
about it.
remove them out.
Just
Not exist.
just be glad it wasn't the Russians, because they would just use the bomb, the Tsar bomba, to just blow up the entire mountain.
See, that's the thing. When Americans were like, we need to do reconnaissance and figure out where actually they hide, the Russians were just like, hold our vodka, comrade. They took some bombers and bombed the entire mountain range.
So let's not forget that the Soviets, which are basically the spiritual predecessors
what
to.
I'm talking about actually happened like 2 years ago.
Yes.
In Syria.
But what I'm talking about is the Soviet Union's attempt to Soviet Unionify the Afghanistan. They were like, you are communists now.
It's Rambo 3.
So the Muslims were like, we don't want to be communists. We don't want to be capitalist either. They were kind of like, we don't want to be communists or capitalists. We want a different system. We don't quite know what it is yet, but we're not gonna take either side. That seemed to be like the stance of the Arab world. But the rest of the world was carrying on with this little Cold War thingy. So
and then the U.S. is like, hey, here's these Stinger missiles for real cheap. They're really good against Russian helicopters.
Yeah, here's
totally not bite us in the ass.
This is Russian. This is Soviet way. Just apply directly to the forehead, and Soviets will disappear like snow in front of the sun. Also used the Dutch proverb right there. Not sure if that translates to English.
It works.
I have no idea what you said in the sentence. Like, I lost you right after
What
Soviets.
you are talking about, because you talk over each other.
Yes. And anyway, so
Also talking about Soviets, one time they were like, they came to a sea and they were like, you are Soviets now. And now the sea isn't quite there.
Oh.
That's better than even the Netherlands approach to the sea.
Yeah,
You ever heard about the RLC?
Why don't you just try that one, Netherlands, instead of building like all this
the
ridiculous
Soviets-
engineering and infrastructure?
Soviets decided
Just
they are
say
going to
it
try
existed.
use a sea to make some land arable and shit, because it was kind of desert-ish and they didn't like it. But they were the Soviets, so they can just remake the world. Oh, it sort of worked a bit.
Maybe.
Except then they turned all that arable land into a swamp because that didn't work out. But the canals were already made, so the water was draining faster than it could refill. Well, and now in, like, what was it? I think it was the 60s. Now in 50 or 60 years later, there's like 10% of the sea left, if that.
That reminds me of the similar situation that happened in...
That was in Kazakhstan, I believe.
Yes. But in California, there was a lake, or at least there was a canyon. But then an accident happened, and now it was a lake. And for a time, it was really nice and dandy, because the local businesses were like, shit, we can now build hotels and resorts, and it's gonna be awesome. And for a time, it was awesome. It was like in the 60s or 70s, yes. So
I mean the RLC. I found a picture of it.
Okay. But as time went on, it turned out that the water was incredibly salty or something like that, which caused basically everything to die, and all the resorts turned into a ghost town.
So in general, salt is a product of out of like rock from the earth. There's salt in it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have rainfall, come the salt devolves in the rainfall, and then it goes downhill. And because salt is extremely water soluble, and it ends up in the ocean. That's why the ocean is salty. In this case, you have this low-lying area that's actually lower than sea level. And because of an engineering mishap, it became flooded. And at first, the water is fresh. But
Yes.
because you have now drainages that drain into it, you have salt that is draining into it. And so over time, it becomes salty. As the water continues to flow into the region, the water becomes more and more salty until it's essentially an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything dies, except for flamingos and krill. No one
None
else.
of them live.
Literally everything died, including the businesses that decided to settle there. So
And it's kind of a horrifying place now.
yes. Yeah,
On the bright side, you have a place where you can go to a vacation when you're dead.
The bright side is that the open water with areas of pockets of land with dead trees and stuff on them is perfect habitat for a lot of migratory birds.
Oh.
And now it's a problem that even the little bit of water that remains is drying up because those birds' habitat is now disappearing.
Obviously.
And now it's just a giant salt flat with no utility for anything except for maybe eventually it'll be good for high-speed motorsports, just like Nevada.
Yes.
Can you mine salt there?
You probably can. If we just don't they usually mine salt by basically fencing it off and then letting the water evaporate, so you just
Don't go anywhere, salt.
Yes, just put a fence around it, it'll be fine.
I mean, you can do the same thing with the ocean, but salt is not a hard resource to get.
Well,
That's what Netherlands is doing.
Yes. We're just fencing off the sea. The sea's all trapped. And then we're like, okay, now we're just gonna gas you. But instead of gas, we'll use, I don't know, not gas or lack of anything. You'll just evaporate and...
Tissue paper.
Yes. Yeah, we'll just bring in trucks and trucks full of tissue paper.
The Netherlands knows a thing or two about how difficult it is to take salty land and turning it into farmland. Of course, they're experts in this, but mostly it's a process that takes on the order of decades.
Yeah, I don't know the details about it, but I'm pretty sure that IJssel Lake was formed with the with Flevoland following later, and I'm pretty sure it took at least 10 years for the land to become arable.
See, that's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't whatever the Netherlands is doing, they're actively doing things to make the land arable. If you don't do that, then it's dead.
Well, I'm pretty I'm
It takes a
pretty
long time.
I'm pretty sure it's permanently arable now, since the IJssel Lake has been sealed off the sea for the better part of half a century now. I mean, I
That's
think
fucking cool.
yeah, I think it was closed off in like 1930. So yeah, that's closing into full century now.
Yeah.
So
So what happened in California is like the opposite of that.
well, yeah, they basically a bunch of water flooded in, and then they immediately wanted to do all the things there. Also, instead of dry land, it was just a lake that's just full of salt because soil.
Yeah, because there was no outlet.
Whereas in the Netherlands, you have a situation where you have land that was under the sea, but now it's in fresh water. So it has time to basically become arable and freshwater-like.
You've
So
got some
that
sort of artificial outlet somewhere in order for the salt to leave.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they had the mechanisms in place to make sure that. I mean, once the land is arable and you start growing things, the soil will adapt eventually. But like I said, I don't know the exact process how they actually went about making Flavorland arable, but they obviously managed to do it, since it's one of the most
They held the land hostage. We're like, you are going to be arable now, or we are going to bring the sea back.
I mean, it's almost nothing but farmland, so obviously they made it arable.
Pretty
Oh,
great.
it was underwater. I would expect it was quite fertile once you get the salt out of it.
So maybe they did something to remove the salt, and ever since it's not really much of a problem, because once you have the salt out, it's basically just your average soil. Anyway, we should probably breach another topic, since I don't know
You're
how
lucky to have
Tell me
100%
everything about
Netherlands viewers.
soil.
I don't even know how we got to talking about this, as is usually the case in Radio Rothingham. So I'm pretty sure Sekele had a topic about animation. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Animation.
Okay, now everything is freezing.
We
No.
never freeze.
Not freezing.
So the computer is working.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So last week or week before it, because it was supposed to be the week, but we did not have it. We did not have a stream back then. So Cartoon Network had their upfront.
A what?
An upfront, which basically is the shit they are supposed to air.
Oh.
It's basically the Cartoon Network
No,
equivalent
I
of
understand.
Nintendo Direct, but with Cartoon Network.
Now I
and
don't know
Cartoon-
what that is. You are confusing me. Sekele had it right. Artrix, stop.
No, but I'll stop anyway. So go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to find the damn thing because I think I'm kind of worried I might have forgotten. But yeah, Cartoon Network. Yes.
Go ahead.
Can't find it. As I said, I'm kind of worried I might have forgotten half of it. So basically, Cartoon Network had their upfront for the years 2018, 2019. The damn thing. So basically, they gave us the information of which shows were greenlit, which were renewed, and shit, where is it?
Oh no.
What are you looking for?
I had the address somewhere where they.
So we're safe, but they can't get to it.
But there's a certain show that you saw on this list, or
shows basically, well, most of the upfront is basically stuff that they either knew about or.
Well, wasn't there like the Mexican version of Gravity Falls?
Yes, Victor and Valentino got greenlit.
Probably the most interesting one of the bunch is also now I can hear myself. Is Infinity Train, which is
That one also got greenlit.
yes, which you know I'm not really that surprised because
An endless train.
because basically the entire goddamn internet was talking about it. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, did you see Infinity Train? It's so interesting, quirky, and
But what is it?
okay." So
Agatha Christie forever.
so imagine for a moment that you're a teenage girl.
I was a teenage girl once.
Well, then you should have no problem relating. So you're a teenage girl. Instead of doing all the typical teenage girl things like going to school and worrying about the test tomorrow, instead of that, you're stuck on a train.
Skip school, Artrix. What are these worries you talk about?
I know, right? So you're stuck on this. So instead of that, you're stuck on a train. And if the train goes any slower than 50 miles per hour, it'll explode. Oh wait, that's a different French. No. Instead.
Did you know there was a movie on that topic, but it was a boat. It was a giant fucking ship. But
Before that, there was one about a bus.
Yes, that was the first.
Yeah,
one.
that was the original. But I'm sure we can milk this to death. So let's see if we make a movie about a Segway, and if it goes any slower than 5 kilometers per hour,
I have a bicycle, but Segway is even better. Because they actually can explode without help.
a bicycle would be even better. So obviously it'll take place in Amsterdam, and this guy is of course it's a guy. This guy is on a bicycle and he's cycling about, and then this guy in a van drives up to him and says, "Don't stop cycling! Don't stop cycling!" And the guy's like, "What?" Since he's Dutch and all. So the guy's like, "If you go any slower than 10 kilometers an hour, your bike will explode."
Classic.
But the funny thing about that is, since the guy's on a bicycle, he needs to keep cycling forever.
We found it! I finally found the thing.
GG.
Also, Artrix, I can imagine how he gets on a bicycle and doesn't notice the 5 kilos of a bomb that he has attached to it.
Yeah, he looks down. No, actually, here's the funny part. It's not. There's explosive in the entirety of the frame of the bike. So inside of the frame, there's nothing but explosives.
Well, that's actually concealed. That wouldn't be so ridiculous. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about?
About
Teenage girl.
a teenage girl and a train. So imagine you're a teenage girl. You're on board of this mystery train of mystery that's also mysterious.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh!
oh my god, there was this one time I was on the mystery train and it was going choo choo, and it was like, oh my god. Anyway, so she's in one room and she needs to solve a puzzle. So she solves a puzzle, and then she moves on to the next caboose. And you know what's in the next caboose?
A puzzle.
Yes, there's also an entire new universe in that caboose. So like she's in one caboose, she solves puzzles, goes to the next one, and it's an entire meadow, and there's these corgi dogs that can also talk in it. And
But are they a part of a puzzle?
yes, she needs to solve a puzzle in this caboose, and that's what she ends up doing.
That kind of sounds like that one episode of Adventure Time, except there are puzzles instead of fights.
Or it kind of sounds like Rick and Morty, where Rick can just use his portal gun and they go into an
Artrix.
entirely
In the
new
Adventure
setting.
Time, there was a literal train.
Of course.
It was an actual episode.
Yeah.
There was also a train in Ahead in Time. So
that's
so
all
what?
based off of the Agatha Christie.
It's all the same universe.
Yes,
It's
it's okay. It's confirmed now. Ahead in Time is in the same universe as Infinity Train. Vote for me. And
it's all references to the same thing from literature. The mystery on the Orient Express. The murder
Yes.
on the Orient Express.
that's why it's called the Murder on the Owl Express. You see.
Yes, it's all references to the same thing.
It's almost as if people are inspired by other properties. So original.
This is very strange to me.
But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the series.
And the episode in Hat in Time is fucking awesome. Anyway.
Yes. And when are they going to release the DLC for that game? I think. At first they said it was gonna
There's
be.
DLC?
Yeah, at first they said it was gonna be Q1 2018, but they obviously postponed it. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
Mustache Girl is supposed to be made playable.
Yeah, well, yeah, because there's gonna be a co-op mode. So there's gonna be a time, somewhere in the near future, where you can actually sit with your buddy on the couch or at your PC, whatever you
I don't
prefer,
have any buddies.
and then one of you can be Mustache Girl, and one of you can be Head Girl, and obviously I'll be Mustache Girl because he's the manliest. I don't have a mustache though, but
That's gay.
I can grow one.
That sounds pretty awesome. But it would sound like it would actually, all the Battletoads, it would make the boss fights twice as difficult if two people have to dodge all the attacks.
You say that.
Especially when one of them is shit.
Actually, you're right, because not too long ago I played Rayman Origins with a bunch of friends. Well, it was Legends based, actually, but even though Rayman Legends does local multiplayer a lot better than Super Mario franchises, it's still shit. Because there's always that one asshole that doesn't keep up, and you're like, oh, I'm almost at the end of the stage, and you're still like fucking around over there. And they have the mechanics where it's like in Rayman you kind of bubble when you die, and then someone else has to save you from it.
Yeah.
But still, at the very least, it's not like New Super Mario Bros. U, where in that game you can actually really fuck up the other player's movements. You can pick them up, for instance, and since they only use 2 buttons, it's really easy to do. So you don't want to know the number of times when I intend to, for instance, throw Fireball, but instead I just pick up the other player and throw them around into a pit or something, and
Hilarious.
Yes.
Did it deal more or less damage than a fireball?
Uh,
'Cause that would be awesome if it was like a special attack when you could throw your dead partner at a boss.
there's one thing you can do in New Super Mario Brothers Wii, where if everyone synchronizes a ground pound, you can basically kill everything on screen. But it requires very good coordination, and it's not as OP as it sounds. So,
I mean, I've played enough Overwatch to know that trying to get a bunch of strangers to coordinate is pretty much impossible.
well, it is easier when it's local co-op, since the people are actually sitting there and it's easier to communicate.
Yeah, the consequence for failure is, physical repercussions in that case.
Yes.
Good old percussive maintenance. I mean, physical violence.
Solves so many problems.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if a bunch of people are playing Overwatch in the same room, you could also coordinate a lot better. Though on the other hand, it's a game that's meant to be played with headphones. I can't really imagine all these people sitting in one room they're obviously listening into their own game because it does heavily rely on sound cues and whatnot. So maybe not so much. Maybe it's really something that you need to use voice chat for. I don't think being in the same physical space helps all that much on second thought.
It's almost like these online multiplayer games are nothing to do with actual, getting together and playing games.
No, for that you need to play. For that you basically need
You
any
need to get together and play games
that are specifically designed. Tabletops or split screen or shared screen multiplayer, like what is it? Rocket League. Basically any fighting game out there. I wouldn't even go.
Strategies.
Or
Super Smash Brothers.
You can totally play real-time strategies. Good old Age of Empires 2.
Overwatch.
you can really play that.
I don't think Overwatch is a strategy.
Well, there's a lot of
No,
strategy
totally.
involved.
It's somewhat real-time. That's true.
But
If you
but
got
yeah,
no touches on, then totally strategy.
I mean, if you're just going in expecting to only rely on pure skill, as in just mechanical skill, but not at all think about strategy, then prepare to lose. You're gonna be losing a lot.
But Artrix. That's not the genre. of
No,
what
that-
strategy is.
It's not an RTS, no. You could even go as far as say that it is one of those MMOs that you hear so much about.
No, that's not an MMO.
Of MOBA, I mean, sorry.
No, it's okay.
It is kind of MOBA.
In some definitions, it could be a MOBA. Okay.
Yes, it is obviously not a pure MOBA, but it definitely has MOBA elements in it.
I think the most fitting one is just arena shooter. Or if you
that's-
want to broaden it a bit, arena
Team-
class-based shooter.
Yes, that's definitely the most apt description of the genre. Yes. Anyway, we were talking about
Of the
Infinity Train.
genre that is Overwatch.
Yeah, Overwatch now its own genre.
Yes,
Copyright, do not steal.
Yes. So.
Infinity Train.
Train.
Yeah, Train, Infinity, Teenage Girl.
Sekele.
Okay, so aside from Infinity Train, the other show that got greenlit, and I posted a screenshot from it into the public chat, I think it's the public, yes, Orange Valentino, or as some people like to call it, the Mexican Gravity Falls.
I'll keep calling it Mexican.
All
Gravity
of
Falls.
looks like Gravity Falls. All of it.
Okay, I think Sekele died for a bit.
Do you hear me?
I hear you now.
No. Wait.
So at least the pilot this far was basically two half brothers spending a summer town when they find out that the town is on top to a portal to the underworld.
That's what happens in Mexico.
Happens in Mexico all the time. It's so annoying actually. You know, you want
You
to
can be Mexican without carrying a portal with you.
you're just trying to cross the street to get groceries, and next thing you know, you're being portaled to another dimension. It's really annoying.
Actually, well, at least the background art looks very good for starters, so it can be pretty promising.
Unrelated, I also saw some unreleased concept art for El Tigre.
Saw some.
Yes. No, I kind of liked El Tigre. It wasn't the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe the best thing since pre-packaged bread, but
Okay, is it the tiger from Winnie the Pooh, but a Mexican wrestler?
yes. Except for anything that makes up Tigger.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry. But
I just like to see him jumping on people and winning matches by it.
well, you probably won by virtue of being Tigger.
That's racist, Artrix.
Wait, did Tiger actually win another season?
Wait, what?
I saw. Wait, you're talking about Tiger Woods?
No.
Oh, damn it.
Since when is Tiger Woods doing wrestling?
Dude, Tiger Woods is actually in professional golf again.
Yes, but that's not wrestling.
It's golf though, and it's fucking unbelievable.
Oh my god, Artrix, imagine it. Wrestling, Tiger Woods versus the golf ball.
That would be pretty amazing. But
At
still,
least he has
he's like,
experience in wrestling in bed.
he's basically proving how much better of an athlete he is than like anyone else because he's still competitive. Even though he's well past his prime now.
Well, have you ever heard about Jaromir Jagr?
No.
He's a hockey guy. You know, when usually like hockey guys are considered too old when they're like 26.
Yeah, it's like Wayne Gretzky did it forever because he was just that good.
Yeah, well, Jagr is still doing it. He's 46 and he doesn't seem to have any plans on stopping.
It's pretty impressive.
Well, some people just keep going until they die.
Some people are just that good that they don't have to stop. They're still better than everyone else.
Okay,
Anyway,
if you want, unless you have something better to talk about, over the rest of the stuff that was announced.
no, go ahead. Announce all the stuff.
Give us all of it.
It's mostly stuff that is already airing, or at least recently started airing, so you know it kinda came late. Okay, there is Apple and Onion. Basically just a regular show with talking food and more British.
Very British.
They have a lot of British voice actors who are...
So it's like VeggieTales but for normal people.
Exactly, it has
that-
a lot of... What?
VeggieTales for normal people, I'm having a hard time conjuring up an image of anything.
It has talking vegetables. That's
But
it.
but
That's
Chris,
where the similarities
Talking
end.
vegetables with Bible messages.
but I need my vegetables to tell me all the Bible verses.
Yeah. That's why they always told you to eat your greens. They teach you about Jesus.
You know, you eat yourself some broccoli and then suddenly go, oh my god, I now understand.
Oh my god, literally.
oh my carrots. The carrot has shown me the way.
You do not know the way.
The carrot knows the way.
It is the way, convent brother.
The way of the carrot, brother.
The way of the Jesus.
So I assume you saw the picture in the public chat.
All right, I'll check it out real quick. Cause this time I made sure not to have the loot channel open, so I don't have to go ahead and.
This one time he doesn't.
So you know this split screen gaming pro. What the fuck? Right. So.
Do people even know what split screen is?
Yes, it is the public one.
Oh my god, is that Teen Titans Go again?
I mean, we are all pretty old here, Artrix. Are we sure people these days even know what split screen is?
Oh yeah, and that was the end of that particular lake. It stopped existing.
Yes. Well, it's
Gravity
still
Train.
exists seasonally.
Gravity Train and Max. Oh yeah, I remember that. And Apple and Onion, which is incredibly British, even though it takes place in New York for some reason. Well, at least there
British New York.
at least it doesn't pull you know, a Smurfs where it's like, you know what will make this franchise automatically cool if it takes place in New York. I still don't understand. What they were thinking when they were like.
But the real question is, did everyone in New York have French accents?
No.
That's a missed opportunity.
Well, no, because later on they had the obvious follow-up is a Smurfs movie that takes place in Paris, obviously.
Oh, they were trying to be realistic.
Follow up is a Smurf movie.
And-
You've taken a wrong turn somewhere. Sorry.
And they not too long ago they actually made a third movie where they actually focus on the goddamn Smurfs. We're like,
It was
wait,
animated.
yes.
What, Artrix? a Smurf movie.
About
but it's
Smurfs?
Smurfs.
Yes, I know, right?
Can't be right.
They realize, wait a minute. When people go to see a Smurfs movie, they want to see the Smurfs in their natural habitat.
Most people just want to see like hilarious hijinks of CGI characters making pop culture references.
I don't know about that. If the ratings or anything. Oh, wait a minute. The Emoji Movie did well.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what World of Warcraft is these days.
Also, that reminds me. The fucking Wreck-It Ralph getting the sequel. And it's
Wi-Fi Ralph.
and it looks like it's going to be almost identical to the Emoji Movie, except it's Pixar, so maybe it'll be good, maybe?
Yeah, but the trailer really looked like the Emoji Movie trailer. It was almost painful to me.
I mean, except it's not emojis. It's already infinitely better.
Yeah. I don't... For some reason, it seems way more shallow than Wreck-It Ralph, because I think the reason why Wreck-It Ralph worked is because even though it was about video games and it did rely a lot of pop culture references, at the very least, video games are kind of their contained universes. So you have the whole aspect of going from universe to universe, so to speak. In this new movie, it seems to be like, lol, we're going to websites that you like to visit, and chat rooms in the Google store, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like fun.
It also looks like a pretty transparent advertisement for Disney's new streaming platform.
Probably.
Because they're going to be showing like him running into Disney princesses and stuff.
Well, Disney's been harping on their princesses quite a bit.
I mean, they always are. This the latest thing is their new streaming platform, which hasn't come out yet. My god, I wish it was a platformer.
They have been harping a lot on princesses lately. I mean, sure, princesses were a staple of the Disney franchise, of Disney in general. But they're really overdoing it recently. I mean, I'm not sure if you noticed, but basically everything Disney does these days involves fucking princesses. I mean except...
it has been like that for the last 15 years, though.
Yes.
Pretty easily.
But it's been getting pretty ridiculous lately. Like, you know, we used to have like a handful of princesses. Now it's like every, you know, let's just say that the status
every single character is a princess.
Let's just say that the status of princesshood in Disney movies franchises has suffered from some severe inflation. You know, you used to be able to buy an entire bread for one princess, but now it will take at least 20. So
I don't know if that's the case. They have a pretty like high standard. I mean, like they have their princess line, and they have like, a really high standard for which characters are considered princesses. And
usually
was the Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, they added her because I don't remember that she was a princess in that movie.
I mean, usually the high standards is a female is the main person in the movie.
No. There's like several things that she has to have. Like she doesn't just have to be royalty. She also has to have like an animal sidekick.
Also, I'm pretty sure that they added Mulan to the lineup because
That's
whatever.
the thing, Tridgeon. She doesn't need to be a royalty. The animal sidekick is very important.
Also, what's the whole point of the movie? That you don't need to be royalty to make something of yourself.
I mean, they also like took Elsa and that whole thing out of the princess lineup specifically because it was diluting it. That they were like too big to be Disney princesses.
This is, by the way.
Oh no, this is different.
Okay, let Sekele say his thing.
You are mentioning the animal sidekick. Now I find it kind of weird because Merida from Brave is considered to be a Disney princess, but she does not have an animal sidekick.
I don't think she is a part of the official Disney princess line.
Also fucking dropped.
They actually did include her several times in the official merchandise.
I don't think that she is an official Disney princess, though. Like, I think there's like a very specific criteria for who is and who isn't a Disney princess.
I think they did include her several times among the other Disney princesses in official stuff.
Considering that I never seen Brave, I don't really care.
Yeah, she is not an official Disney princess.
Though wasn't the whole point of the movie that she was a prince, that she was being propped up to be princess and she didn't give a shit about it?
Wait, no.
Oh.
She's been added.
Oh.
What's the...
Well, that makes sense, because if
Not
any...
even in death can she escape being princess.
Why have we gone down this rabbit hole? This is so confusing. But there must be a committee out there somewhere. Someone like some under dungeon in Disney.
Well, it's...
where like these probably like old bald men meet up and sit around the table and be like, so who's in?
Hey!
No, Tridgeon, that's factually wrong. They are not bald. They are trying to be exactly lookalikes of Walt Disney.
Also,
The table full of Walt Disneys.
also come...
I would argue that it's easier to sell princess merch to girls in toy stores than non-princess merch.
Yes, that's the whole point of why they're trying to push the princess brand, because for some inexplicable reason, girls really fucking love princesses.
You know, I like the fact that the entire movie of Brave is about the person with the hair not being a princess or not wanting to be a princess, and then Disney is like, you are a princess now.
Also, it doesn't necessarily need
She
to be...
can't escape!
Also, it doesn't necessarily need to be bald, guys. I mean, within 10 years I'll be completely bald, and I'm not constantly concerned about making characters princesses. Come on.
But yeah, there are
that's
now
factually
11
wrong.
princesses.
The what now?
There's 11. There's 11 princesses, and Merida
In the official lineup.
in the official lineup.
Well, the official lineup, that sounds like something very official.
Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, whoever that is, Ariel, Jasmine, Pocahontas, Mulan, Tiana, Rapunzel, and Merida.
Isn't Aurora the one from the movie with the Rasputin in it?
No, that's that isn't even Disney. That's Don Bluth, Anastasia.
Anastasia is not actually a Disney princess.
No, that isn't even Disney.
It's
Well,
a
it
different movie.
is Don Bluth basically trying to copy the Princess formula, because it was essentially Don Bluth's attempt at making Beauty and the Beast.
I don't believe you, Artrix, that Don Bluth made a movie that was semi-normal.
Oh, Aurora is also known as Sleeping Beauty. Why didn't they
Oh.
call her Sleeping Beauty?
Well,
He had a name.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Anastasia was an alright movie. I watched it. I liked it.
You are known for two things: being beautiful and for sleeping. don't fuck up your career by trying to branch out with a name.
Maybe they should fucking call me Sleeping Beauty then. Anyway, but yeah, no, I thought that Anastasia was actually pretty fucking awesome. I don't know. I haven't seen it since I was in like elementary school, but
Well,
they had a talking bat, and they had a fucking creepy ass villain, and
That's just Rasputin being normal.
as I was working
He
on.
was kind of a lame villain. I mean, he was a lich. That's nice, but all his sidekicks were just bugs and rats.
Yeah, he was a weird villain. His motivations were also kind of weird. Also considering that the real Rasputin was more of a I don't even know what he was. I mean, in the movie it was explained that in the movie he was described as being the confidant of the family, but in reality he was more like I don't know what he was in real life, but it was definitely not what the movie made him out to be.
Well, you could say he was a confidant because he was like total buddies with the Tsar family.
Yeah, so why does
probably
the real
born
Rasputin was like crazy crazy ass dude.
Well,
Like,
yes.
But no, in this movie you have him basically try and kill Anastasia because reasons.
Yeah, listen
I mean,
sounds
the
good.
real Rasputin kind of died before the revolution even.
That too. So it is well. Obviously, you shouldn't use the movie as being a
I mean,
reference
they
of history.
postponed it a few times and it almost didn't go through, but they killed him. Yes,
I mean,
eventually.
I mean, according to the movie, times are really hard when the Tsar was in power, but the lives weren't so great when the revolutions happened. So, I mean, it's a very
I was saying Lenin is not the best thing.
nah. He's kind of overrated, to be honest.
I think you need to go on a trip to Siberia, Artrix.
Yeah, I will, and I'll
I don't
tell.
think anyone needs that.
I'm going to go there and tell people that Len was completely overrated. It's like it was like Lennon's so cool. I'm like, no, he wasn't. He was kind of mediocre. He wasn't great or bad. He was just.
I fucking loved Atlantis. Dude, just like the mole guy that can't stop exploding things. And like then there's the evil dude that's actually just like a corporate, like he's just trying to make money, but he's got like this giant fish tank full of coelacanths, and like that's fucking awesome. And there's like the archaeologist that he just was really into it just for the scientific knowledge, but like totally gets with the princess who's
By the way,
like
the entire
hot as
plot
hell.
by the way, the entire plot of that movie is copied from the anime Blue Water.
Also, we were talking about Lenin, so why the fuck are you talking about Atlantis?
Also, why the fuck are we talking about Lennon? We were talking about.
Atlantis.
Lenin is a Disney princess.
Why are we talking
about
about?
Atlantis? There's a princess in Atlantis that is not an official Disney princess.
Yeah, why?
Because Disney tried to
I-
bury Atlantis.
Atlantis
Atlantis was different.
actually,
it
I-
has to go.
There are two.
Disney princesses have to be
The
from
protagonists.
IPs. They
Oh.
have to be from IPs that make money.
Oh, I was going to
Is
say
this-
because they're all protagonists, and he wasn't the protagonist in that movie, but
No.
Atlantis was a commercial flop.
It was a
That's
commercial failure, so she could not be a Disney princess.
Ethics.
Yes.
It's very simple. It's just like with Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet and Atlantis.
Treasure
They're
Planet
doing.
was a 2D movie after Toy Story, so it was not going to do well.
That's true, but they were trying to be sort of different from the usual stuff, and therefore they had to go.
They were also marketing with both Treasure Planet and Atlantis. They were trying to market towards boys
Old.
as
Oh,
well.
Yeah,
that too.
I told you they were different.
Well,
Yeah.
at least it wasn't as colossal of a failure as the Black Cauldron, where they're like, oh yeah, this whole Dungeons and Dragons thing is really big in the 80s now. So
Like Korra was basically like wizards, but without the LSD, so it was boring.
Has
yes,
there been any media based on Dungeons and Dragons that wasn't awful?
There was an anime based on it. Records of Longest War.
Okay, anime automatically awful. Next.
Was it any good?
It's a cult classic, so
All right, so I guess it's good according to
doesn't say
someone.
much.
Also, considering that we've been going on for about 1.5 hours, I think we should.
finish even one topic.
Yes.
Well, we did, but there was a lot of rambling.
I think
We
this
could
is
do
pretty
the
good.
one more
With-
thing.
Well, the one more thing is that it just so
man.
happens that the World Wide Web is around-ish 30 years old,
Okay.
which is kind of a thing that makes you think. It's like, this is fucking ridiculous. It's 30 years old, which means that it's only like since 1993, since it was in public use, and since 1995, since it was widespread. So basically, World Wide Web, as we know it today, is only used just over 20 years. Like when I started doing stuff on the internet, which was kind of late, even when compared to my classmates, the fucking thing wasn't even 10 years old yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that regard, the internet has really developed, well, exponentially. Also, when you consider just the sheer amount of content and websites and just the amount.
It has one downside.
Just one.
It's got just
Yes.
one.
Just one. The fucking normies noticed.
It's so true.
Maybe that's the reason why I was kind of surprised that you had internet etiquette class in school, especially back in those days.
Oh my
It was
God,
still.
it was such a good thing to have to go through, and I think people should still have to go through it.
I don't think we ever had that. It was just like
Yeah.
don't tell stuff to people on the internet.
I don't.
It's a basic common sense.
I think the only education I had around computers in high school was really basic computer shit, and I think we kind of touched on the internet, like, oh yeah, by the way, there's the internet now, web browsers, whatnot. But this is how you copy a file from your C drive to the A drive. You use the mouse and you drag the file from this folder to that folder.
No. Dragging, that sounds too advanced. That sounds like university level Artrix.
I mean, we definitely had those classes, and they were awful. But
Usually it's like right click and click on copy and then open the folder and right click and click on paste.
The point is that my teachers couldn't even conceive of the notion of you go to the internet and you converse with other people on forums and whatnot. That was like, well, that's
talk to
that-
strangers.
that was the shit that we were doing at home. You know, we just got our computer, and I basically remember one of the first things I did once I got my own internet was basically troll the shit out of a bunch of people on some forum because you're like a teenager and that's what you do.
Obviously.
I very quickly grew out of that phase, obviously, but
Unfortunately.
Still
Fort.
That's what was in the internet. Nobody like took it seriously. They were like,
Yes.
yes, these people are anonymous, and probably it's not a good idea to tell them stuff, and they are probably not telling me true stuff either. But hey, it's kind of fun to talk to them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest differences between now and then. Back then, the population at large didn't take the internet seriously. So you didn't have all these people going, oh no, you said this. And don't you know that there's serious social consequences when you use that word?
Indeed, and then you have such a person on the internet, and us old facts are like, what? What are you trying to do here?
Are you new to the internet or something?
This is not how things work. This is how none of this works.
All I've got to say is, before we end this, you guys really should look up the nerve gas attacks on Europe, because it's like kind of a big deal. I'm surprised you haven't heard about it.
Well,
I
like,
live in Europe.
On the UK specifically.
yeah, the UK, we established that the UK is.
not Europe, Tridgeon.
Yeah, they.
Alright, fine. That island place you don't really care about, but constantly is stirring up shit.
It's that place where Astra lives, basically.
But
But
doesn't come here anymore.
but yeah, but yeah, the UK isn't part of Europe. They left. They I don't know. I don't even know where they are at this point. Last time I checked, they were like floating around Hong Kong. They were just, you know, they were like, hey, let's go visit our old colonies. So
Look,
to know.
Yeah, those people love us.
So
if it makes you feel any better, I don't think there is a main nose either.
well, Theresa May is just like the creepy aunt that you see every 3 years.
So creepy.
Hi,
Got those
sweetie.
eyes.
Hi, sweetie. How are you doing? You've grown so much since the last time I've seen you. And Hong Kong was
Where
like,
are you?
fuck off. Yeah.
Except you can't say that because it's like your sweet old auntie. And you gotta eat her cookies, and you gotta like put up and kiss on the cheek, having your soul drained.
Yep, that pretty much describes Hong Kong. Anyway, I guess we.
I at least mention Nintendo had a direct
Yes.
Splatoon 2 is getting DLC. You can now play Octolinks.
Well, not now, but in like
In the future.
July or something.
That
Future.
and obviously
Very
Smash is obviously coming to the Switch. It's just confirmed now, and
Smash is coming.
yes,
This exciting
it's
news
going
excited me
it's
very
it's
much.
going
I'm
to
very
come
excited.
buckets on your Switch. That is with awesome graphics.
Please stop coming buckets on your Switch.
Mhm.
Well,
Well,
the introduction trailer for Smash was about characters coming buckets of paint.
Yes. With that said,
Please don't.
yeah, this episode is getting long. We should end it. So
End
like.
it. End it now.
Like, favorite, subscribe, like.
No, without it. Send it.
No.
Abruptly and painfully.
Ow!